Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here, WilhiteWX.com. Wanted to bring you an update about the Ohio Valley winter storm coming this weekend. Lots of changes have happened in the data today. Yesterday, it looked like it was going to be pretty much right along the Ohio River and southward, maybe a little bit into Indiana, but there's been some big trends today in the data, and the data has trended this actually further to the south rather than to the north. Right now, it looks like Indiana probably going to miss out on this, but this is still going to be a heck of a winter storm for at least parts of Kentucky. So let's just start off with the NAM. This is the latest run of the NAM that came in this afternoon, and it'll illustrate this for you well. So by the time you come into Saturday, we're high and dry here. It's going to be Saturday afternoon before you start to see something rolling into here, and it's going to be rain to start off with. But watch how this comes in as we move into the overnight hours on Sunday night. You notice Indiana completely high and dry here. There's some freezing rain possibly starting to mix in here with the rain. And as you go through this, the NAM really doesn't give you any snow until you get way over here into the eastern portions of Kentucky, southeastern portions, and delivers a pretty significant hit of snow then after that. Now, if I show you the run from this morning, just to be fair with that, it'll give you a little bit of an idea too. That one was just a tiny bit more north, but still not much. There was our snow that came and rain that came through today. Didn't really affect much of us. Here it comes, and it starts off as rain over a chunk of the area. This has the precip shield starting to go just a little bit into Indiana. I don't think that's going to be based on the latest trends, but you can see even then, that one did have it as more of a snow event, but it was a snow event primarily for Kentucky, and it left Indiana mostly high and dry. But as I said, the latest trends in the data are to take it fairly well south of there. So show you some of the others as well. Here's the upgraded GFS, and there you can see as it moves in, the low is, it's not even like an I-10 low. It's like a Gulf of Mexico low here. It's tracking way south of here, and just notice how Indiana completely missed out of this. A good chunk of Kentucky completely missed on this, and some heavier totals then as you get into southeastern Kentucky. The Canadian misses the state almost entirely, and it's rained for most of the event, except for very portions here of southeast Kentucky, and that's really about it. Euro, you're going to notice a trend with this as I come into here as well. The Euro comes in. Here's the early morning hours on Sunday morning. There again, Indiana completely high and dry. Most of Kentucky still high and dry. Watch this. A good chunk of Kentucky doesn't even get this. And again, you get a little bit of icy precipitation there at the start on Sunday, way south towards Bowling Green and down towards the Tennessee border. But as you go through the day, it really becomes a southeastern Kentucky sort of event as far as this is concerned. So what totals we'll be looking at? Well, the Euro does this little number with it, and you can see, again, it's a hefty hit for the mountains there of North Carolina and Tennessee. The Smokies are going to get hammered with this. Southeast Kentucky takes a nice hit, but just look at this. And by the way, all this that you see up here to the north, these lighter snow totals, that was all what came through in the Clipper this afternoon. So that's not even going to happen in this there. Basically, north of this line right here, absolutely no precipitation whatsoever from this weekend, the way the Euro is saying. If you look at the GFS, it's the same kind of scenario with this. And so what you've got going on up here, again, all these totals, that was the Clipper from today. Watch the sharp cutoff. Pretty much north of that, absolutely nothing. And where is it centered? It does have the accumulating snow a little bit more towards the east there, but the huge amounts of snow here, all over in to North Carolina there, and portions of southeastern Kentucky get here a little bit with it as well. Here's the Canadian. Again, the same idea. It's a little bit more like the Euro there. Only a little bit less totals there in southeast Kentucky, but again, high and dry, everything else. Here's the NAM from this afternoon. You're seeing a trend here. Everything lining up to be sort of that way. So here's the way things look. Excuse me. As of right now, I will say everything in the white does have a snow and ice possible kind of setup with this. But the likely chances and where you're going to get the decent snows here in the blue, again, the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and southeast Kentucky. That's where you're going to get those heavier snow totals. I do think there could be some ice and some snow, maybe come as far north here as maybe say right around the Western Kentucky Parkway. But once you get north of the Western Kentucky, you're probably not going to see much out of that. And I think at this point, Indiana and most of southern Illinois will stay high and dry with this and just not see anything. Now, we got, basically around 48 hours now before the start of this event. And really, most of it's going to start late into the overnight hours on Sunday. So we've really got more about 60 hours from the time I'm recording this before it starts. So there is a possibility that some of the data could trend just a little bit, but I really don't see significant changes one way or the other towards the north or towards the south at this point. The closer you get towards the event, the less wobbling you generally see in the modeling. So we'll know more as the evening runs come in tonight. The 0Z runs started firing off about an hour ago. They won't be in for a couple of more hours, and I'll, of course, be done recording this video by then. But I'll look at those as they come in and see whether there are any changes in the data. But I think the reality is this just doesn't really look like a big storm for Indiana. I don't think you're going to see a northward trend to push it into Indiana. You might see a north shift by 20, 30, maybe even 40 miles, but that's probably going to be about it. Really, folks, this is going to be a Kentucky winter storm event, and right now the trend is more towards the south, not the north. I think if anything tonight, you will see this continue to be a southern Kentucky and southeastern Kentucky primarily for the big accumulations kind of event. Well, that's it for this video, folks. By the way, next week, if we just sort of take a look at that, not a whole lot going to be going on. I can just show you there is another storm next weekend. All right, but high pressure keeps us high and dry until late in the week. You got rain moving in next Thursday, and then that low sort of bombs out. The GFS is wanting to develop it into a nice little bomb here that could bring some snow to the area, but it's a little bit too early to tell overall at this point as far as temperatures are concerned for this. Here's the way temperatures look for it. A little bit of a warm up as you head towards that next weekend, but overall still pretty cool here. Just not seeing anything major in sight at this point in time to track other than maybe next Thursday, Friday. It looks interesting, but that's about all we can say about it at this point. All right, I'll have more updates as necessary this weekend. Again, most of us, Indiana, going to miss out of this. Most of Illinois going to miss out of this. Mostly just a southeastern Kentucky and extreme southern Kentucky thing. North of the Western Kentucky Parkway, going to be hard-pressed to get anything, folks. By the way, if you haven't followed me, be sure to follow me on Twitter, @WillHiteWX, and Southern Indiana Weather on Facebook.